brown sugar.
They call you brown sugar.
They call me brown sugar.
They actually physically call you that.
They actually physically call me that. As soon as I pull out that window, they come to my car. They be like, brown sugar. Brown sugar.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to yet another episode of vilitefilms, the show that will get you as a filmmaker to where you need to be. And today we're sitting here with the amazing writer Serg Garcia. If you have not seen the teaser trailers to the short film, go ahead and go in the description below. Click on those links. There are 2 teaser trailers out right now. There are a total of 5. Please go check those out, as well as the Indiegogo link in the description below. But now let's get into some questions. All right, so what would you say is the most important part or the most pivotal part about creating a sequence based off of true events?
Make sure that it doesn't recreate the actual part in whatever history you're taking a part of. You don't want to copy something else. There's a difference between making a recreation scene of the actual event and creating a sequence that's inspired by the sequence. I think you have to figure out the line between those two, and once you find that, once you find your flavor to the table, you'll go from that right side to that side to making your own. And I think that's the most important thing.
So you did a lot of research for the film.
I did.
Tons of research. Yep. Physical, emotional, straining. I know it was. Just tell us real quick, talk to us about the process of researching for the film. I know it was strenuous. I know it was a lot going on. So talk to us about that.
I did research since back in January 2016.
So about a year of research.
About a year. I had to think about what really did I need to get my hands on, what to look about. I mean, disappearance cases and cult group situations. Those were the 2 things I knew that were going to be what the film was about. So I actually went back to 40s and the 50s, looked at disappearance cases. And it's crazy because the older a case gets, the more creepy the more creepy it is for some odd reason. The ones that have been unsolved since then, it's something about that's like, you haven't heard about this since like the past century.
So would you say it's best to do pieces, so when dealing with based on true events stories, would you say it's best to do pieces that haven't quite been solved yet?
Exactly. I think the thing I took out of all these research is, especially the ones that you don't know what happened, is the unknown. And that right there, you create your own imagination. You don't know what exactly happened to these kids that disappeared, from the Sodders children disappearance case or these other children disappearance cases. You just don't know. And you create your own imagination, and you're just like, oh my God, like, you create just horrible sequence in your mind. And also another thing that made me like really couldn't go to sleep was the whole Manson scenario, the whole Manson family thing. That was one of my inspirations in the cult side, was Charles Manson and his family. And that whole night, the first night of the Tate LaBianca murders, what went down at the Tate house, just, there's so much that they can show you on screen from all of those Helter Skelter films and everything. But there's just something about it when you're creating a scene in your head that's 10 times more brutal, 10 times more the horror that it creates. And I think the imagination is the key tool of the unknown.
And that's our advantage.
That's our advantage.
That's
exactly.
our advantage.
Everyone has fears. And I think, the ones that are very real, that can happen, I think those are the ones that really can affect people in the gut.
So how important is research to a film? Not just about true events or anything based on true events, but just about writing in general.
I think it's important. I mean, it's just regardless of what subject you talk about, I think you need to research. I mean, you could be someone who knows so much about football, but there may be a side of football that you don't know about, like the mental issues that football players go through. You just don't know. You have to make sure you have everything down. Otherwise, you're going to come off as someone who just doesn't know. And people will see that. Audiences will see that. You never know if someone will come and watch a film about football and it's about mental issues that the football players are going through, And that person be like, they call bullcrap right there. Because you can tell. It can clearly tell. And I feel like, research can also play a part in the story too.
So real quick, spill with us your methods behind your writing process. What are some of the things that are hand in hand, some things that you have to do every time you're writing a script?
Right. I do this thing that I learned from my mentor, Susan Busa, master scene outline. You break down all the scenes, and you basically write an outline of all the scenes. You write a description, just a brief description of what the scene's going to be about. And I think if you create an outline like that, it will help you when you finally start the script. And then you can just add the action, the dialogue, because you already have it in your head. It's just how you're going to execute it. And I feel like the outline helps you tell the story. I think it helps you construct everything. That's one. Two, just make sure that I have more than a first draft, because the first draft is always going to suck. No matter what type of writer you are. There's going to be things you're going to want to change. I mean, you could be Aaron Sorkin, and you could be someone like him, and you're still going to have to change stuff. Especially if you're working with a director or producers who don't really see an eye and eye with you, or maybe there's something you missed in that first draft that people eyed and be like, hey, maybe you can do this, and you go back and you write it. It's just how you approach it. The rewrites. Maybe sometimes you have to rewrite it from scratch, which I actually had to do for Along the Creek Road. There was a first draft that took about 25, it was like almost 30 pages. And I went back and I changed it to now it's like 15 pages because there was so much that wasn't necessary.
And I'm glad you brought that up because that's a good point. So when you're dealing with short films need to sometimes tend to be short. If you're doing anything over 20 minutes or so, you're really asking a lot from the audience.
Exactly. And if it's more than 20 minutes, you're really asking people to you're really asking them like, hey, can you stay here for 20 minutes? It's got to be a damn good film. Not that Along the Creek Road is not a good film, but you got to make sure that film is nearly perfect, because you're just wasting their time if it's a short film. It's all about movement. If there's in a short film, you got to make sure every scene counts, but also you got to get going. If it's a drama piece, yeah, you can have the characters be like all, slowly built of the climax of tension that's created the whole film. And I don't know, it's just something about horror that you need to get the gist, get the environment, get that atmosphere, and get straight to it.
Any advice that you can give to young filmmakers or young writers, per se, out there that are starting out?
You're always going to make mistakes. You will always make mistakes. And I think that will be a strong tool as you keep going. From what I've learned, even from Along the Creek Road, that I thought there were some things I thought I created were pretty good in some of the drafts. And some people, saw that it didn't make sense. And it's up to you to see at that point where you're going to understand them, or you're going to be a naive person and be like, no, I think this is right. I think that's important, to have an open mind, clean your ears, and listen. Listen to what other people have to say. Because other people, your peers, your trustworthy filmmaking friends, they want what's best for you. They're not telling you because they're trying to be,
They're our audience.
They're your audience.
So, they're basically telling you what it is that we, need to know as writers and as filmmakers.
Exactly. And you can't get hurt by it. You got to make sure that, you listen to every word of what they say, because, if your film comes out the way it's originally going to be, if you stick by what you do and not listen to anyone, then it's not going to come off well. Your story is going to be mixed and people are not going to get it. Yeah. I think it's very important that you have people that you trust, storytellers, to read your script and get advice. If you keep hearing, I think it was a terrific script, if you keep hearing all that, then I think you're doing something wrong. I don't think you're doing something right. That makes sense. Okay. There's always going to be flaws. There's always going to be something. There's always going to be something. And you have to figure out, as a writer, what can I do to fix it? How can I make this story better? You know, you got to have an open mind. If you don't, then you're not going to get far. Simple as that. Yeah, my pleasure.
It's Mr. Still Your Girl. It's Mr. Still Your Girl.